Missiles in War Thunder can be very confusing. This video aims to help you with your missile adventures and how to get kills with them. There will be many videos in this series. We're going to start out with the United States infrared guided missiles. Alright everybody, here we go. So missiles. We're going to start with the AIM-9B. Everyone's favorite, everyone's first missile. Every country has it, it's just a different form of it. So here we go, AIM-9B. Let's take a look at some stats. The main important things we're going to be looking at here is the lock range and rear aspect, the launch range, and the maximum speed and the maximum G overload. You get 10 Gs at Mach 1.7, so you can turn relatively well, I guess. This missile starts coming in at around 8.7 at that area, so it's very good for that tier and what it needs to do. The only rear aspect, but hey, it's your first missile. It's always exciting when you get your first missile. Alright, so how do we use the AIM-9B? Well, here's what it's perfect for: killing bombers or targets that cannot maneuver. Get up right behind it, get it in the bore sight, in the little circle there. Here, once it turns red, make sure you're within 1.5 kilometers of the target. They're not going supersonic. Let it go, and it's gonna hit if the target's bad at maneuvering. However, if the target decides to do a few turns, it's gonna miss. Alright, now the missile that most of the premium players will be getting first. If you get a 10.3, 10.0 around their premium, the AIM-9E. So the AIM-9E is found in things like the F5C. It's also is the missile you'll get stock on the F5E, and it's the missile I think you still get stock on the F4E, and the F4C it's its best infrared guided missile. So the AIM-9E is like a Sidewinder that can't pull just as well. And you may say, well, hang on, it has 10 Gs, so it must pull as well. But look at the Mach number; it goes a lot faster, so it gets to that 10 Gs without pulling in as hard, right? So it doesn't pull as well, but you do get a lead, the lead thing. So there's a little. So when you fire the missile, when you warm it up, there'll be a circle, a small circle that locks the missile onto the heat source, and there'll be a bigger circle. That big circle is the limit to where you can lead that smaller circle. The smaller circle can go off bore sight, right? So it can go to the left, right, whatever, wherever you're aiming. It allows you to lead the missile in to counteract the fact that it doesn't pull just as well, which can be useful to get quick snapshots if you can somehow do that. I've done that a few 3 times, side aspecting, pull in. Sometimes you get shots. It's not recommended you do that though, because you'll probably missile flare, whatever. So let's look at some stats here. So it's rear aspect, like we said before. It's got a bit more range because it goes a lot faster. 10 Gs as usual, Mach 2.5. So let's look at some gameplay on how to effectively use such a missile. So Corsari pulls in here, the little circle allows him to maintain lock, he fires a missile, it's at good range, we're at quite a bit of an altitude, and it's going to get a kill. Perfect, again, for people who decide they don't want to turn, don't know how to use flares or anything like that. Alright, so now we're finally in the realm and territory where you can fire a missile at a target that actually wants to maneuver a decent amount. So we're going to look at the AIM-9J here. It's an AIM-9E that has better maneuverability. It has 20 Gs of overload but the same speed, so you're actually going to be able to get a lot of work done with this missile. It's not at all super long range, 1.5, 2 kilometers max. Usually around 1.3, 1.4 kilometers I would shoot it because of drag changes. The missile slows down at a reasonable amount when someone tries to maneuver. Great at killing stationary targets like any missile is, but that's especially when targets decide they want to maneuver like fighters and they don't have flares. This missile's perfect for killing them. Alright, so Kasari has a slow target in front of him, well within range. He's going to turn in, it's 23 map, he's going to lock it up, he's going to fire, and he's going to get the kill. You can see the missile pulls a lot harder than a 9E. Definitely going to be a breath of fresh air from switching from the 9E to the 9J once you finally get it. Alright, so now it's time for the AIM-9D. The AIM-9D can be found on things like the F8s, and it'll be found stock on the F14A and F4J. So let's look at some stats here. So the AIM-9D, it has the same speed as a 9J and the 9E, but it goes a lot farther. The AIM-9D has an incredibly long burn time for a missile of this tier. It'll get you really far shots if you're at altitude, and still really far shots if you're on sea level. Pulls 18 Gs, which is a little less than the 9J, but because it's so much slower, it actually pulls in harder because it's not reaching that G limit, because it's not going as fast. It'll get a Mach 2.5 at the end of its burn time, but not at the beginning. It takes a little bit to accelerate, but it's well worth it for a missile like this. 60 seconds of guided time, which is good enough to let you get most places. As I said before, Mach 2.5 and 18 Gs. So, but the key thing here is it does not have the double circle like the AIM-9E has. You cannot lead the missile at all. It is a singular bore sight right there. One circle, you get one circle, you have to fly it into the target, and then that's it. That's how you have to shoot the missile. So you can't lead the missile. You want to shoot it at a target that's not maneuvering when you fire it. If the target decides to maneuver after you fired it, that's completely fine. It just cannot be maneuvering when you fire it. Let's look at some gameplay. Alright, now for the AIM-9G and AIM-9H missiles. They're basically the same, except the AIM-9H has a higher track rate. I'm not sure how that has an effect in War Thunder, but that's just kind of the only difference. So, its rear aspect, it's an AIM-9D that you can lead. So it has the double circle, it has, you can fire off bore sight. In some aircraft, you can get HMD with it, which stands for helmet mounted display, which means the bore sight points to where you're looking, which is very useful. Of course, AIM-9D has the same exact range, maybe a little farther, maybe a little less. 18 Gs of overload, 2.5 at maximum speed. Fires are around the same ranges as the AIM-9D. Let's get into some gameplay. Alright, so for the star of today's show, the AIM-9L. So the AIM-9L can be found on the F-14B, the F-16, the A-7K, and a lot of other planes around. So the F-14 ASA can also get it. A bunch of planes for the United States, these are the main ones. So let's take a look at the statistics here. So it has the exact same range, or a little more, a little less, than the AIM-9D, okay, and the AIM-9G and H. Has the same, like, a seeker kind of profile. It's a little smaller, but it works functionally the same. It lets you lead just enough. 30 Gs though of maximum overload, and it's all aspect. All aspect, 30 Gs. That's pretty good, and it's got range. This is definitely one of the best of the smaller end infrared missiles in the game. Definitely. I would not recommend firing right in front of someone. It will not pull in like enough right away. You gotta give it a little bit of space. The AIM-9L doesn't pull in like perfectly. You can fire pretty close in like rear aspect, but in all aspects. And when someone's charging at you, just don't fire it. They're gonna flare it. They're gonna see it. You can't do the R60M pop up, shoot, and they don't see it at point blank. It's not gonna work with the AIM-9L. Sometimes it does, but it usually doesn't. So remember, just flying behind the enemies. If the target's maneuvering, that's completely fine. You just lock them up, you fire, and it'll most likely be a kill. For hotter targets, like firing an F-14B within 1 kilometer, they cannot flare that. If you're within 1 kilometer of an F-14, any kind, you won't flare it. Tornadoes won't flare it if you're within 1 kilometer. F-4Js struggle flaring it within 1 kilometer, however they can do it. F-14s, though, it's almost not going to happen. Alright, let's get into some gameplay.